Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful In conversation. Today, I am with the wonderful Suzy Stanton, who is the expert in everything web related. And that wonderful term that is so catchy that we called SEO, which seems meaningless to everybody, but it's super important. And so many people aren't implementing some really easy things to do to help bring more clients in and make more sales, which is why we're all here as business owners. So today I am talking to Suzy, myth busting some stuff around how we get more visibility from our website and actually how we use our website to our advantage. So we're not having to do quite as much donkey work to get our clients in. Suzy, welcome to this YouTube video. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about what SEO really is, and let's break down some of these barriers, because I see so many people that have a website, which is a wonderful shop window, and then they do nothing with it. And you kind of think this is such a missed opportunity to make more sales, to get more clients. What is it that you can, what is it that you're seeing at the moment, and what can people do to just get more visibility from their websites?
To start off with, to break it down, SEO is search engine optimization, which is basically attracting Google's attention with words and key bits in your website so that it can see that what you do is what people are searching for. And I think it's something that's overlooked by a lot of people because they think SEO is really complicated, don't understand what it's about, time consuming, expensive to get help with. And basically, I'm on a mission to kind of bust all of those myths, because there are small tweaks that you can make to make sure that Google's attention is there and is showing your website to the people that are typing into Google what it is that you do when they've got a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see it so often, and I know I do this myself, is when we are trying to find the answer to something, usually the first place we go to is Google, right? We go and type it in there.
Yeah.
That's where we start because we don't know where else to ask. I mean, what would we have done before Google? I mean, we'd have gone to an
I've done a
encyclopedia
horse
probably.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely changed the way we actually behave. So when we are thinking about how our ideal clients behave, we need to think about where are they going to start. And actually, often it's Google. It's more often than not Google. A little bit AI these days. We'll talk about AI in a minute, but Google, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. If you think 2 o'clock in the morning, something's kept you awake, you think, I need to find the answer to this, or I'm not going to go to sleep. That's what people are typing in, the solution to that problem. If you are the solution to that problem and you don't have those words on your website, they're not going to find you. And it can be as straightforward as that.
Yeah. It when you talk about it like that, it actually sounds really, really easy to implement, but it is actually quite easy to add things into your website that gets you more visibility quicker through Google, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And the starting point is always using the right words. There's a lot of kind of noise about AI and how that's changing how we search, and it does. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the words on your website that people type into Google to find what it is that they've got a problem with, find the solution, Google is never going to find you. And it is as simple as that, is having the right words in places like your tagline, which is the bit that tells Google what your website is about, in your headings, in your page titles, and in the body of your content. If those words aren't there, then there is no point in having your website, basically.
Yeah. And there is ways which you can write for SEO purposes, isn't it? Because there isn't actually, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, like for me, I can't write content marketing enough throughout my website, right? It will help people who typing, not that a lot of my clients would necessarily type in content marketing, because that's not usually the problem. The problem is usually like, how do I get like more likes on Instagram? That's where they'll probably start. So it's like using phrases that people would search for, right? And using them
Yes,
repeatedly throughout.
absolutely. Yeah. And you can find out what it is that people search on Google. When you put in, for example, copywriter, scroll down to the middle of the page and it will say people also ask. That is, that's gold dust. That's telling you what people are also typing in to find a copywriter. Or you can put it into ChatGPT and give as much information about what it is that you do, and it will give you some suggestions that you probably won't have thought of in terms of what people are actually searching for.
I love that. What do you see? What are the most common mistakes that people are making at the moment? What are you seeing that people could easily change and aren't doing?
Basically, just not starting to do the work on their website, because I think there is so much noise about AI. I think a lot of people think, well, there is no point because it's changing, it's too complicated, I don't know what to do. Whereas the fundamentals haven't changed, which is, like I say, having the right words there in the best places. So make a list of the top 5 things that it is that you do, and then make sure that those words are on your web copy. It sounds very straightforward, but you'd be amazed at the number of people who don't have, what it is that they do in the headings or in the body of their text. And that's what Google picks up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really key. And it's actually thinking about it from the people that are searching point of view rather than your own. It's like, well, I
Yeah.
can talk a lot in jargon. Like there's lots of jargony words. Like I don't talk about funnels. I hate that word. I don't talk about brand that often because most people who aren't brand experts wouldn't necessarily know what that entails. But if I start talking about how your how your business feels to people, how you look, your image, all of that kind of thing, is much more easier to understand. So we
Yeah.
have to really understand how our audience interacts with us, don't we, really? We have to understand the
Yeah.
kind of words they would use, the language that they would speak, because they aren't where you are, right? I often see that mistake. People they don't want to seem like they're dumbing down, do they?
No. And I mean, SEO is a perfect example of that. If you say to 50 small business owners, what's SEO? The vast majority of them would kind of go, no idea, because it's a term that I know what it means because that's what I do. But it's about using the terminology that your ideal clients actually use. So probably something like website visibility would be more appropriate. Small business owners probably understand that a bit more, but say jargon words like that, that's not what people type into search engines. They
No.
type what at that particular moment, what it is that's coming into their head. Why won't my baby sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning? Or what does this pain in my arm mean? Or, that's the kind of things that they're typing. It's not grammatically correct, it's not perfect, but that's what they're typing.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of spelling mistakes I put into Google is quite, but yes, absolutely. I mean, usually I would type in like, why have I got a pain in my finger? And then obviously it will tell you to go to 999 and have your finger amputated, which obviously is not the right
Yeah.
answer. But generally that's how it goes. What do you think that, because we talk about SEO and people really needing it, when people have actually done these tweaks, your clients that have actually kind of taken the time to go through it, it's not instant wins, is it? It's not something that is instant. But what results do you see people getting once they implement some of these changes into the SEO, putting in the keywords? What is it that you're seeing from them?
They're getting more people, more eyes on their website, and more clients finding them through their website. So people who, I've had a client recently who had up his, I did an audit for her. She's working through the action plan, and she's had a client from Glasgow, which she's never had before, who found her on Google search. I think she was second or third in the search results, liked the look of her description, clicked on her page, and kind of the rest is history. So it's people having clients come to them without having to jump about on social media and all of that. And that's the bit that I think a lot of people miss, that get the foundations right and it can become effortless as long as you keep it
Yeah.
up to date in terms of attracting people. Not everybody's going to be a client straight away, but it's getting the people in your world, getting them to understand what you do. It might be that they kind of put it at the back of their mind, but then when they need it, they'll think that, yeah, I remember that person. And it's a more it's a laid back way, I suppose, of doing your marketing, because you're not having to do anything. Your website's doing it for you.
Perfect. I love that. That's the dream, right? That people come knocking to our doors every single day without having to
Yeah.
actually go out and lead gen. That would be my dream. What do you say? I mean, I often talk about metrics. I'm a bit of a numbers geek. I love being creative. I come out like with 500 ideas every single day. But I often, when I speak to people about how many people are visiting your website, they'll often have no idea. Like they won't know even where to start to look. What would be
Yeah.
your recommendations in terms of people who have their website, it sits there quite merrily, but they don't actually know what's kind of going on with it? Where would they start with this? Because it can be a bit of a minefield, can't it?
And I would always recommend Google Analytics and Google Search Console. They're both free tools that you can use. Once you've got them connected, it will show you things. Google Analytics will show you things like where your traffic's coming from, whether it's organic, whether it's social media, whether it's direct, something else. It will show you it, there is so much information on there, but key bits like the time of day or the days of the week that people are looking at your website, which can help with launches and things, countries where they're coming from, and most importantly, the volume of traffic. So Google Analytics, Google Search Console will tell you what people have typed into Google to find you, which is gold dust, because once you know that, you can create content around that particular search, because that's what people are already searching for. So the more content you've got on that point, the more people are going to search for it. And Google Search Console will also tell you whether your website pages are on Google's list. If you're not on the list, you're not getting in, it won't find you. And it's straightforward to be able to add your pages to the list. So Analytics and Search Console are the absolute go-to that you need, and they're free.
Yeah, that's a great thing. I mean, it can be a bit of a minefield. If tech isn't your thing, then go to Suzy. That's all I recommend. She can help you with this totally, because data doesn't lie. At the end of the day, the numbers, well, I will say my numbers are lying slightly on my Google Analytics because I had a bot troll mine. I'm getting into a very technical conversation here. Either way, but I wouldn't know that without looking at my numbers. But what we can see from the data is understanding if people are going to your website, but they're not buying, there's something wrong there. We're missing a trick, aren't we? Let's briefly go into then. I get people asking about Google My Business, because I think this is an opportunity as well to help with your linking up your website. So what would you say about Google My Business? Because this gives you a little profile on Google, doesn't it?
Yeah. Making sure that that's optimized so that it's got the words in it that reflect what it is that you do. Because again, having wonderful images and really descriptive text that doesn't include what you do, it needs to have your keywords in there as well, because then that will bring people to your website, and that will, having people referred from something like that, improves your authority on your website. So it's kind of a knock-on effect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are location based, right, having your location in is like an essential,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And also what I'm seeing now, I don't know if you're seeing it, is that when you search for like a business, so it could be anything like, plumber, for instance. I'm using plumber as an example because I've just had radiators done in my house. But what it will also bring up is an AI description as well now. So actually, even Gemini, which is Google's own AI tool, is trawling Google itself to get the information to make it quicker and easier. And my husband actually
Yeah.
has conversations with Gemini now. Like, it's all voice activated. So actually, these are all really important things to think about when it comes to SEO. And they're not, like you say, they're not actually complicated to do. They're just
No.
really things that you can implement that help. And I would always recommend ask people to do the testimonials on Google, right? That is really
Yeah.
helps building that authority, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And using testimonials as case studies for your content, so that the the thing that will help you stand out above AI and everything else is having content that's really rich and engaging and is human led, because obviously AI isn't at the moment. So having that testimonials that you use as a case study, this was the problem that this person had. They don't need to be named if people don't want to be, but I would imagine that people will because it's advertising for them effectively. But this was the problem. They came to me. This is what we did. This was the outcome. And this is what they had to say about it. Reading content like that is what really helps you to stand out and get your keywords in there as well. And, that's the kind of thing that Google's going to be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. This leads quite nicely into blogs. Now, I am a big fan of blogging, as are you, but so many people say blogs are dead, right? We've heard this so many times. It's a myth. It's a complete myth, right?
It's an absolute total myth. Blog posts are one of the key things that Google looks at in terms of quality criteria. So it looks at, it's called EAT, experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And your blog posts are how you can show that. So you can, post about this is how I came to be doing what I do, or, my journey so far, or expertise, testimonials, case studies, all things like that are what Google look at. And your blog post, I can't emphasize enough how important having blog posts are, because not only does it help Google, but it shows people who land on your website what you're about in a way that you can't really do on social media. It shows your expertise. You link to different pages that say, this is what I've done. This is what I do for my clients. It's it is, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of the be all and end all in terms of what you have on your website. And if you don't have a blog section, you really are missing out. And I know that a lot of small business owners think, I just don't have time to do it. But it's about looking at it in a different way, repurposing what you've already got. Start with your social media posts and make that into a blog post. Start with your blog post and make that into social media posts. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if you look at what content you're already creating, you've got more than enough there to create blog posts.
Yeah, they don't have to be long though, do they? And I think you're right, repurposing. I talk about this all the time. Like, I use my blog as my entire weekly content because it's a good anchor. It becomes so many different things, and actually it gives you a topic to talk about for an entire week. There's so much good content that you can take out of a blog. And you can, like you say, the great thing about blogs is they are not just for today. Like, some social media posts are for today, like you put your stories on Instagram, but actually blogs can be the gift that keeps on giving for years.
Yeah.
It's not just months.
Absolutely.
We're talking years. People find like mine from like a year and a half ago, because that's how long they last. It's a great bit of what we call the evergreen content. So just because you're not seeing the views today, it doesn't mean that they're not being found. So, and again, use, as Suzy recommends, use the subjects that people are searching for as your blog titles.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
easy. And it doesn't have to be just about your business or just about what it is that you do. And for example, I run a digital adoption parenting magazine, but I also publish posts, about general environmental issues as well. And one of my most looked at posts at this time of year is 5 ways to get your wash and dry in the winter, which it's, somebody looking at adoption wouldn't think I need that particular post, but if you're a parent, that's the kind of thing that you would be looking for as well. And I wrote that probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it brings hundreds of views every month around this time of year. Keep it up to date, amazing. Republish it, and it's done, dusted, and it's bringing in traffic to my website.
Brilliant. I'd love to talk a little bit more about the adoption magazine, because I think this is such a great thing that you do, because we've talked before, this isn't the first conversation we've had, but what inspired you to start that magazine, and actually what has it actually taught you about web presence, really importantly?
Basically, I'm mum via adoption, and when we started to think about adopting, I wanted to read from people who'd been through the process what it was like, and there was nothing out there. We were talking kind of 11, 12 years ago now. So when our eldest daughter came home, I started a blog, and when our youngest daughter came home, I relaunched it as a digital magazine, because there's so many taboos and kind of misconceptions about adoption, and I wanted to be able to lift the lid on that, share experiences, So I publish articles from adopters, adoptees, birth parents, as well as from experts who kind of signpost with support and things like that. But when I first launched the magazine, I knew absolutely, well, I didn't know SEO existed. So I press publish thinking the whole world's going to see this magazine. It's exactly what people need. I know that the content is brilliant, and kind of sat and watched the tumbleweeds roll past. And I was like that for a long time because I did not have a clue about website visibility and SEO. And that's basically where I've learned everything about SEO from, because started from the ground, like below zero, because there was just nobody looking at it. I found a blogging membership. I joined that, and people were talking about SEO, and I'm like, what is that? And then kind of light bulbs started going off. I mean, one example is I used to have a really heated conversation with my laptop about headings, because I use Yoast, which is a plugin, and it kept saying at the bottom of each post, you haven't got any headings. And I'm like, I've made them big, they're bold, I've got headings. What I didn't know is that headings in terms of SEO, is there's a hierarchy, and it's an actual setting, and that's what Google looks at. I didn't know that. And you don't know what you don't know. But it's little bits like that that gradually over time I've learned. And that's why I do what I do now with SEO, because I've been there, I've done that. I've got a lot of the t-shirts in terms of not knowing what any of the terms are, and kind of learned the hard way. And I want to be able to share that with people who I don't want to have to learn the hard way. The information's there.
No, I love that you've actually, you've had information that is really important to people, practical, valuable information that people need to know, because you didn't want people to go through what you went through. And that is, you are evidence of showing what works by making small tweaks. And I love the fact that it's like a really practical blog that
Yeah.
actually can, that is working really well. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for that kind of practical stuff. And this is testament to what you do, though, because I think you knew there's so many business owners out there that have really great things to share with people, but they're not being seen. And actually,
Absolutely.
this is, social media isn't always the way that's going to win. And I think websites are, they're such winning gold mines that people are ignoring. And it's actually less of a slave to the socials than you think. It's actually a much easier thing to implement. And I want to just say, for people who aren't like sure of web, have got a website, not sure what to do with it, you might think, I don't know where to find Google Analytics, let alone search consoles, or have time to write a blog. What would you recommend? Where would people start? And let's talk about how people can get help from you, because if you're kind of going, I know I need help on my website, this is going to make my life a lot easier, and I don't know where to start, Suzy is the person to go to. So where would you start, and what would you recommend?
Really depends on whether you want to learn how to do it yourself, which is something I would always recommend people start with, because even if in the future you want to pay somebody to do it for you, you need to have an understanding of all the bits so that you know that you're getting the right service, and you can change things yourself when you need to. But in terms of my support, it starts, I've got a membership, which is an accountability membership where we get things done. So kind of 20-minute sessions every fortnight. There's masterclasses in there which show you how to find your keywords, how to create content, things like that. And it's got the accountability of showing up and getting the work done. I've got a course which is 5 lessons, and kind of is a deep dive on all of those topics that we've talked about, and shows you how to get the bits changed and how to do the things that you need to do, basically. And I also have SEO clinics, which are basically power hours, which we can work through whatever it is that you're struggling with. As long as you've got access to your back end, we can share screens and can kind of point them in the right direction of what needs to be changed and what needs to be done where. And then I've got kind of one-to-one done for your services. But I would always recommend that you start with learning how to do it yourself, and I can show you how to do that.
Yeah, and actually you will feel so much more empowered by doing that. And to be honest, the value that you give for the price you charge, there is no, I I have worked in places where we have spent literally thousands and thousands of pounds working on SEO, like hundreds of thousands of pounds. For the investment that people would give to you, it's an absolute steal, and you get so many good results. And I absolutely agree. I think even if you're thinking I'm not tech person, you don't need to be. It's not that hard. I promise you. If I can
I'm not a
learn it,
tech person.
no, you've come from learning it yourself. You've kind of got into the
Yeah,
nitty of it. So, you know, we are just normal people, and
yeah,
absolutely,
absolutely.
I have learned so much from Suzy, because every time I speak with you, there is always something else I go away and think, actually, that is a dead easy tweak I can make to my website, or I could go and check this. And I know that every time I blog, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely going to be. Not all my blogs are perfect. I'm going to say it's not about perfectionism. It's about just getting
No,
out there and
absolutely
giving it.
not. Yeah,
So I highly recommend go follow Suzy. You've got the QR code there to link through to her,
yeah,
connect with her, find out more about what you can do, because spending even at like half an hour a week on this is going to get you
yeah.
so much value in the long term. And that's what we want. Suzy, are there any final bits of advice you'd like to give to people before we wrap up today?
Just start basically, and I think it's very obvious, but it puts so many people off thinking, I don't know where to start. Make a plan and just start,
Yeah. And if you
and
don't
get
know
in
where to
touch
start
if
with a
you
plan,
need help.
yeah, go to your membership, right? It's a great place to
Yeah,
start. Sign
yeah,
up to Suzy's membership.
definitely.
That's the place to start. Thank you, everybody. I hope this conversation has been useful for you. And I really love it. If you've got any questions, please write it in the comments below, or go and reach out to either myself or Suzy if you have anything that you want to ask specifically. And Suzy, thank you very much for joining me today for another In
Thank you
Conversation.
very much for having me.